Good morning and welcome to Mind Tripping with Michelle. Today is Tuesday, January 13th, 2015. We are well into 2015. A lot of wonderful things have been happening and going on with my companies through the Mind Trip Productions Company, the Digital Bistro, and the upcoming launch of the Mind Trip Academy. I am so excited of all the things going on. If you haven't had a chance yet to hop on over to michellemeleoonline.com, you can go ahead over to my website and you can get a sneak peek at the new upcoming academy where you can get trained as a life coach, as a spiritual life coach, and also in neuro-linguistic programming. Also lots of fun classes that are going on and coming up, and as well as some announcements of places where I will be doing gallery style readings and workshops. So go ahead and check it out, michellemeleoonline.com. Today's show, today Robin will not be with us. She has the day off. I will be doing the show solo today, and I'm very excited that we will be talking about setting your sacred space, setting quiet space. And also later on in the broadcast at about 10:30, I will be taking phone calls and doing free psychic readings on the air. And basically I'll be doing a one question, answer one question. So if you have a psychic question that you would like to have answered, I have the number right here, the call-in number. Now remember, you can call in a little bit before 10:30, but don't call after. If you call after 10:30, you're probably not going to be able to get your question answered. So I'm letting you know, you can call a little bit before 10:30. The show airs at 10:30. The call-in number is, get your pens ready, it's 713-955-0351. That's 713-955-0351. And that's the call-in number from 10:30 to about 5 minutes to 11. Then I'll be answering psychic questions live for you on the air. How exciting! So, sacred space. I want to talk with you about sacred space before we move forward with the readings. And the reason Robin and I did the show last week and we had our interview with Erica Rock, it was wonderful, wonderful interview. What an amazing woman. And we talked a little bit before the show, Robin and I privately, about sacred space and about how, we both, with the new year just starting up, that's really important for both of us and many other people that I've spoke with, setting the intentions for your year and allowing yourself to let go of some things that maybe you had held on to for 2014. I know I mentioned the Leonie Dawson's year, the 2015 shining bright year, and it's a workbook that go through, and one of the things that she has you do in the very beginning of the workbook is to look at your year prior. So look at 2014 and look at those things that you held on to and the things that really stressed you out and upset you and the things that you would like to change. That's well and fine. What do we do with them now that we get into 2015? This was the conversation that Robin and I were having just last week. And we were talking about how we need to, cleanse and clear and set our intentions for the new year and set our sacred space. And so it got to thinking, maybe a lot of people don't really know exactly what sacred space is. A lot of us, you hear the word sacred space and you may feel like that's a place where, okay, well, that's a place where you do your meditations, or that's a place where you do your rituals, or, or you do your magic, or you light some candles and do some spell work. And that's true, and that's all well and fine, but sacred space is more than that. Sacred space is an area, and it can be any area, that has been cleansed and cleared of all negative activity, of all negative energies. And it's a quiet place. It's a place to be able to clear your thoughts. It's a place that if you are a writer, that you will be able to write from the heart or write from spirit. If you are a business owner, it's a place where you can just sit and contemplate your next business strategy or your next business move. And if you are just, a normal human being working your way into 2015, this sacred space can be used just to clear your thoughts, just to clear your mind, to enter a stress-free area, and to focus on your intentions. And instead of focusing on what stresses you, instead of focusing on what you'd like to remove and get rid of. Don't get me wrong, a lot of times we do look at things that we would like to get rid of, and I think that's an amazing concept. And in my 4 steps to success, I talk about that. It's very important to look at what it is that you'd like to get rid of, what you'd like to remove from your life. If we ignore it, it tends to come back and bite us in the butt. But what happens once you've removed those obstacles for yourself? How do you find the peace to recognize them? How do you find the peace to remove them? How do you find that focus to be able to have that clarity and those clear thoughts? Well, sacred space is the answer. So Robin and I were going to actually this week set up a sacred space in front of our clients. I'm going to do that, or in front of our listeners and viewers. Clients. I'm going to do that right now with this healing. It's shamanic healing sacred smudge spray. Smudge is the most well-known and the most popular way to create a sacred space. Okay. When we create a sacred space, it doesn't necessarily have to be a room. And I will talk with you a little bit more about how to set up a room if you are fortunate enough to have a space in your home where you can have your own room. I'm going to talk about that, how you can set that room so you can just basically walk into that room and have entered your the place where you want to go and you want to exhale. So we will talk about that. What if you don't have the space? What if you don't have a room? Sage is the most popular way to clear air. Sage is been in Native American use for thousands of years. Sage is used to cleanse space. It's used to clear negative energies, and it's excellent and helpful for clearing thoughts. I spray a little bit of sage mist before I sit down and do any work on my computer, before I write anything. And sometimes if I'm just having a stressful day, I'll just come in and spray myself. Why the spray? Now, it comes in 2 forms. We have the spray, and we have a smudge. Oh, and 3 forms actually, because it can come in a smudge stick as well. And that's a long wand. It's probably that some of them are mini, and they can range, and they can even go all the way up to 12 or 13 inches long. And it's pieces of sage. I have white sage. So I'll just bring that in closer for you. That's white sage. It smells divine. And there's also green sage, and some people will even use sweetgrass. And you can choose what works for you. I like white sage, and I like loose white sage. So you can light your sage, and you'll have a wand. I don't have my wand with me. I have a feather wand that I just kind of waft the smoke throughout, and it really does work. I remember my children will tell you, and I think I may have shared this in another episode, earlier episode, my children will tell you that when they were younger, and if there was an argument in the house, and you know how children can get, I had 3 children, and everything was an emergency, and everything was dramified, and everything was at a very high-pitched squeal when there was arguing going on. And, I just did things different than most parents, I guess, because rather than, yelling and screaming and slopping and sending into timeout, I would just quietly get up, and I would go into my sacred space, and I would get out my sage, and I would light that sage, and I would just gently walk through the room that they were all fighting in, and I would just waft, and I would waft them with the sage smoke, and I would clear the whole room. It worked. Now, I can't tell you honestly whether it worked because my children were so busy laughing at me because it was the most hysterical thing that they would encounter, and they just thought it was really funny that where other kids' moms would spank them, I would run around with sage and smudge them. So they would laugh at me for that, or whether it was actually the sage. I like to believe that it was actually the sage. It has a calming nature. It brings joy. It clears and dissipates that negative energy. Whatever the actual component was that caused the argument to stop, when I would use the sage, the arguments would stop. So some people are allergic to smoke, or some people don't like the smell of smoke, and sometimes sage can be a little bit overpowering, especially if it is believed that if there's a lot of negative energy that needs to be cleansed and cleared, that the sage can just go and go and go and billow into this big smoke puff around you. And for that reason, we have the spray. And the spray smells much like the actual white sage, and you just mist your spray. And what I also like about the spray is that when you're smudging yourself to give yourself cleanse your energy, and this is if you don't have a room again to cleanse and clear, you'll want to get the sage around your energy field. Sometimes the smoke is kind of tough to get, you know, back here, or we're gonna, and it's so this is kind of like a two-person job, you know. So it's great, but with the spray, I just kind of go, and I can go around my legs, get my arms. A lot of times I'll spray it on my hands, and I'll just and clear my energy across my third eye, because I do psychic readings. In between readings, I'll cleanse it. And I'm just in a total different place. I'm in a different space and time. It feels good. It feels light. The energy feels lighter. Now I've set my sacred space, sort of. Spray the sage, clear the space, and then I like to take it a step further and imagine that I like to look up to the sky and close my eyes and allow myself, as I'm looking up into the top of my eyelids, I allow myself to see, and when you do this, you can see a little white dot almost in the center. If you're looking up through your eyelids, you'll see a little white dot of light. And I just I focus on that light, and I allow that light to expand. And as it expands, it will expand into like almost like a fuzzy white thumbprint, you know, and it will get larger. And I'll let that get larger, and I'll just imagine that white light is coming down to me and into my third eye, or my crown. My top of my head is my crown, and this is my third eye energy center. And bring that into my body. And as it fills my body, I like to imagine that it's expanding out, and now spinning and spiraling up from my feet all the way up to the top of my head, and expanding out about 3 or 4 inches. And that's a wonderful way that you can create your own sacred space and clear your mind and clear your thoughts. You don't necessarily have to go into meditation. It can just really cleanse and clear your mind. It's the equivalent of taking 3 deep breaths, except for you have this protective barrier around your body of positive energy and positive flow. Another thing that you can do is you can actually use your hands and they do this a technique that are working on moving past something or working on a really big challenge in their life. I have them, and I'm going to walk you through this, to actually stand up and look in front of you, look about a foot in front of you, and imagine. You can even draw a ring with your hands, an imaginary ring. I've even had clients take pieces of masking tape and make like a little squoval, try to make a circle out of that, a hula hoop. You can get hula hoops. You can get the little kids plastic hula hoops at Walmart for like $2.99, unless they're on sale. You can get them sometimes in front of the registers for $1.39. The best $1.39, best $2 you can spend is to get one of those little hula hoops for the kids, and pick the color that that appeals to you. If you can get white, that's wonderful, but pick the color that appeals to you. So you can either draw an imaginary circle in front of you. You can take this hula hoop and you can lay it down on the floor in front of you. And what you want to do is you'll want to focus on that area, okay? And as you're looking at that area, and you can do this with your eyes open or with your eyes closed, what you can do is you can look at this area and you can imagine that this area is expanding up from the circle. Okay, and it's turning into a big cylinder that goes beneath the floor and all the way up to the sky. So it goes as far as your imagination can carry you up, and as low into the ground as you can imagine, into Mother Earth. And inside this cylinder, you can pack it with all kinds of things. You can pack it with love. You can pack it with white universal light. You can pack it with your deities. You can pack it with Jesus love, God love, Mother Mary love. You can pack it with the Hindu gods and goddesses, whatever your preference is. And you can also imagine what it is, the outcome that you would like. So if it's peace and calm and a quiet mind, and if you're going into this area for your writing skills, or perhaps you're going for public speaking skills, or just to be able to meditate and be able to just quiet your mind, and anything that you like, you can add in there, and you let it build, and you imagine that it's a color. And that's why with the hula hoop works really nice if you pick a color that corresponds with the color that you imagine that your sacred space, your circle will be. And when you feel like it just can't get any fuller, you just take one step forward and you step inside that circle. And when you step inside that circle, you imagine, and just close your eyes and imagine that you're absorbing all of that wonderfulness into your being as you stand into that circle. Okay? And as you absorb it, you can take it with you throughout the day. So it's a great way to start the day. It's a great way to close the day. It's a great way to just take a couple of minutes to gather your thoughts, especially if you're in an extremely stressful situation in your life. So that's really a nice, fun thing that you can do and try at home. Another thing you can do to help set sacred space in a room. Let's say that you have a room that you're fortunate enough, like me, I have my own sacred space. I have my own room in my home. And in this room, in each corner of the room, I have set crystals. And the best crystals to use if you're going to set sacred space in your room are clear quartz, are usually the best because they're great generator crystals. And what you can do, and I packed all of my crystals away, so I do not have any with me right now to show you, but the crystals with the little points on them, I'm going to draw you one. They are called, the ends with the points are the terminated ends, okay? So this type of crystal, can you see that okay? Would be a double terminated crystal. Now, if we were to have a crystal that didn't have this piece here and it was just flat there, that's a single terminated crystal. And then you even get more that some of them will be like a cluster. And the good thing about the clusters are you'll find that they point in different directions, okay? And so a single terminated crystal is where the pointed area here is where energy is drawn in. Okay, whatever energy. Remember, it's a great generator crystal. So if you think of these crystals as generators, okay, whatever that's pointing at is what it's going to draw in. It's going to absorb that into the crystal, okay? So what happens with this is if it's pointing up to the sky, to beautiful light, spirit energy, white light, the universal energy, it's going to absorb that into the crystal, okay? And where it stops is where the energy, where it will form, okay? Where it will ultimately build up inside of that crystal. So, so we're drawing in white light. It's sitting on our floor in our house. Okay, and it's absorbing all of that nice white light right here on our floor. If we set 4 of these in each corner of our house, each corner of our room, we are creating an area of energy that is a sacred space, okay? And that's really the simplest explanation of how to use crystals. That's called a crystal grid, by the way, and it's called gridding. And you can go online and you can look up all sorts of crystal grids. You can set more than 4. You can set them. You can set 9. You can set. You always want to at least have 4. You can also take take it a step further and use clusters. Okay, and the clusters are going to absorb any negative energy. Okay, and the thing is, if you're absorbing negative energy into this crystal and you're absorbing white light into this crystal and they're meeting here, what's happening? Right? That white light, that pure spiritual energy, is healing and cleansing that negative energy. So that's something that you can do. The double terminated crystals are fun as well. The double terminated crystals are great if you would like to, draw earth energy and spirit energy, and you can actually hold the crystal in your hand. A lot of people will wire wrap those crystals or use them to move energy and shift it and store it for a later date. They're not really ideal for setting grids unless you wanted to, unless you had another crystal, a generator crystal that was standing upright, that was set. Actually, the perfect crystals for those would be a cluster with 1 going up and possibly 2 pointing out, and they could almost, if you imagine, like little laser beams. So the pointy part traditionally draws the energy in, and the flat area is where that energy is stored. So whatever is closest to that flat area will be able to absorb the energy. Eventually, 4 pillar crystals in the corners of your rooms will create a very, very sacred space that feels nice and comfortable. And you'll actually be able to notice once you set it up. You can walk out of the room, walk into the room, walk out of the room, walk into the room. You will feel a difference. You will feel a shift. So these are wonderful ways to set sacred space for yourself. I would love to hear how you set your own sacred space, if you have a technique, or how you clear your mind and clear your thoughts and bring yourself to that place of peace and comfort. Please feel free to share with me. Please feel free to visit my YouTube page, which is Mind Trip Productions. If you just go to YouTube and you search Mind Trip Productions, you'll find my YouTube page. You can find this video there, and leave your comments. Let me know how you set your sacred space. I'd love to hear other people's techniques and other people's ideas and how we can build a nice, calm, peaceful community together. So I hope that you find these tips helpful, and I hope that you are able to use them at home. They're very inexpensive. Oh, somebody just asked where you can find the sage, and that's a really good question. Thank you for asking. Where can you find this sage? Your best bet is to visit in the local New Age spiritual store near your house. You can find the mists. This shamanic healing sacred smudge is actually from Gaia's Healing Gifts. So you can go to gaiashealinggifts.com and you can order this and you can have it shipped to you. There are also many other places that sell it in their stores, New Age spiritual stores, and same with the sage. You can either order it online, and what I showed you today here is white sage, and this is loose white sage right here. Okay, and so if you would want to have the loose white sage, you'll want to have a vessel that is not that fireproof vessel. This is the abalone shell. My husband made this for me. It's a deer antler, but you can just hold the shell in your hand. And you can even use your hands to waft it, or a feather smudge, which you can also find at your local New Age store. Another option is, I had mentioned, you can get bundles, which are they're sage. They're called sage bundles, and they're sage sticks. And so you can either ask for a sage bundle or a sage stick, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction when you get to that store. Or you can just go online and put in your search engine sage sticks for sale. There are many, many resources online that have these available for sale, and it's a lovely way to create sacred space for yourself. Good question. Thank you for asking that question. Okay, so we are just about 5 minutes away from going live on our Blog Talk Radio show. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to, if you have to take a bathroom break or get yourself a water. Also, if you have gotten a pen and you need that call-in number once again, and you'd like to call in with a psychic question, we'll be taking calls in about 5 minutes. The call-in number is 713-955-0351. So again, that's 713-955-0351. And I'm just going to take a short commercial break, and I'm going to go ahead and get our Blog Talk Radio on air, and I will be right back. So go ahead and get yourself your phone, get a water, get a snack, and write down your psychic questions. I can't wait to hear what you will ask. Welcome back. That was pretty quick. I have my Blog Talk. Until showtime. We have 2 minutes until we go live on Blog Talk Radio. I do see that I already have a caller on waiting to ask a psychic question. So we'll be taking that caller in just a couple of minutes. Again, if you missed the call-in number to call in and ask a psychic question of me today, the number is 713-955-0351. So go ahead and get your psychic questions ready, and I will be happy to answer them on the air for you. So today we have been talking about sacred space. I hope that you found that information very helpful. Another person, the same person who had asked about the sage, had asked me about the crystals as well while we were taking our short commercial break. And crystals you can also find at your local New Age store. There are a lot more gem shops. Crystals are becoming more popular in the mainstream. So now you can actually look in some other type of stores and you might find crystals. So you can even find crystals on the ground. Determinated ones, I'm not sure. They have a lot of little mining places that you can go to. But you can't go wrong with your local New Age or spiritual shop or searching online. And thank you so much for asking that question, because I think that's a really, really important question to ask. Okay, so once again, one last, I'll wait till I announce the broadcast, which is going to go live in less than a minute. And I will give that call-in number one more time for anybody that would like to ask a psychic question. You can go ahead and give us a call on our Blog Talk Radio show. It will be loads and loads of fun.
live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello there, and welcome to Mind Tripping with Michelle. To my Blog Talk listeners, we have been chatting for the last half hour on our Google Plus and YouTube channel, and today we've been talking about sacred space, how to set your sacred space. So if you are just tuning in, please be sure to watch this broadcast a little bit later on. I'm very excited to announce that today I will be answering psychic questions live on the air. So if you have a psychic question that you would like to ask, you can go ahead and call in at 713-955-0351. And that's if you have a psychic question, or of course if you have a question about setting sacred space. So 713-955-0351. Now, we had talked about setting sacred space. I was talking about how much I absolutely love and adore the sage mist. I'm just going to kind of cleanse my energy here. And as I said, I'm going to spray a little on my hands, go across my third eye, down my face, and sweep my energy down. This clears my energy, clears my thoughts from the first half-hour broadcast, and allows me to be open and ready to answer some psychic questions. So I do have a caller on the line, so I'm just going to switch over to this caller, and this caller is from area code 904. So I'm just going to put you on the line. Hello, area code 914. Caller, you're live on the air. Welcome to Mind Tripping with Michelle. Hello, caller. Are you there? Hello, welcome.
Hi, Michelle. This is Darlene.
Hi, Darlene. I'm so glad you got through.
Yeah, this is crazy. I was watching your sacred space. That was really cool.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun. Robin has some suggestions too, so we'll definitely do that again. It's a lot of fun. I think a lot of people, need that nowadays. Just kind of clear the energy, clear that junk.
Yeah. Well, one thing you were talking about, you're going to make your own or recreate your own sacred space. And one thing I've created is what I call my meditation station.
Oh.
I have a specific space that I try to keep the energy nice, so I can go in there and go right into meditation.
Oh, I love it. The meditation station. And is it a room or is it an actual just space?
Well, it's in a room we all use. It's in the computer room, but it's a special chair that I use just for that, and I try to keep the energy in there just balanced.
That's a great.
Not let any of the outside jump in.
Yep. And that's wonderful. And I'm glad that you called in, and I'm glad that you shared that, because I think a lot of people feel that they need a room to have a sacred space, and you're just a perfect example. We don't need a room. You as long as you keep that energy clear and you have a specific space, you've got your sacred space, your meditation station.
Yeah.
I love it.
But also I find that because, I constantly use it, it's so much easier to go into meditation.
Yeah.
It's like your mind already starts to clear. It's like when you wear certain clothes for certain things, your body just automatically changes to that quickly.
Yes, and that's a really good point, Darlene. Thank you for sharing that, because the more we use that space, the stronger the energy becomes, the more our bodies become conditioned almost to just really enter that space. Nice.
Definitely.
Did you have a psychic question that you'd like to ask me today?
Well, I said need a direction, and I was just going to call you, but since you're on the radio, I thought I'd just butt in. So, anyway, in case you don't know what Darlene is, this is Darlene from Phoenix Festival.
Oh, yes, I know, my dear.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. We had a little celebration, and we're all happy, but it's like I have this giant room to fill psychically. And I have 10 different directions to go in, and I have a lot of work to catch up on, but I need some sort of input as to, like, what's more important, which way should I really go?
Okay. Well, I gotta say that the temperature in this room, I don't know if anybody watching can see, like I have like beads of sweat across my head. The temperature in this room, just connecting with your guides, the temperature in this room is elevated. I'd have to say 5 or 10 degrees. Enough that I feel like it's hot. So I feel like there's a lot of guides around you. You know, I feel like it's good, warm energy. So I'm putting some cards down for you to kind of help answer that question for you. All right. And you know, you've got this psychic space to fill, right? And so looking for a direction to go. Can I ask you, it looks like there are 3 really good, solid, possible directions of movement. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm looking at the 3. So they've shown up, my 3, you know, very, you know, strong moves for you to take. And I feel like you're toggling between these 3 and trying to get some direction. So the first one that shows up for me, I'm just going to kind of separate them into 3 so that you can look at this from a good perspective. Okay, I want to go to the first. I want to go to the one that's least likely for you to follow, and I also feel like it's the one that you hope for the most. Okay, but it looks like there's one that involves working with a friend, partnering up, so to speak. And I feel as if for you now, this is the one that you want most of all, but it also feels like it's the most tragic for you. I've got 9 of spades, and I've got like the not so happy surprise. So I feel like, and I hope, you know, I feel as if, and I feel like this is also based on past experiences, is that when you've tried to pair up with somebody, it hasn't really worked out, and things just come out of the blue and shift and change without any warning. So I feel as if this is the message that I'm getting for you, Darlene, is that this path, although it's what you want most, it's also what you do all the time.
Okay.
You know, it's yeah, it's familiar. And so then you're like, why does this always happen to me? Okay, so that's your first option. Your second option looks like something that there's, again, people beside you with this. And I feel like this is kind of this is something that perhaps your husband had suggested or will be involved in. But I do see a man, I see a man in your life, I see your partner, I see your life partner, and I see him saying, what about this? This would be great. You've always wanted to do this. And he's kind of feeding back. And this would really be a good, profitable avenue for you, okay? I like this one for you very, very much. It looks positive. Maybe he's not saying profitable, but it does look like it's something that will feed your soul, that you love to do, that comes naturally for you. And it feels like it's giving messages. Do you give him divine messages all the time?
Oh, yeah.
And you're always right on.
Oh, yeah, I know it scares him.
Yeah, but he's, you know, this is a very natural path for you to go. You have a lot of brightness around this. You have 2 of diamonds, 2 of hearts, and 10 of diamonds, okay? And those 3 together tell me that that you really almost always like to give good news, even though you give bad if they want it. Your messages are very clear, concise, accurate, and it's something that you can really actually start up as a career choice if you would like. Yeah. So, yeah, and so this third area is kind of really exploring your, the third one feels almost personal. And the third one feels like it's exploring your connection with your guides and your higher self, communicating with people that have passed away, perhaps.
Yeah, I've kind of lost some of that connection.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like it's personal for you, and I feel like that's really got to be your jumping off point, is find that connection. And that's something that's very natural for you. Again, here's the thing, the message that I'm getting for you is that you're trying to start again where you left off.
Yes.
Okay, and that's the
sort of recapturing that energy.
Yeah, sort of. So you're kind of trying to get back to where you left off, or get back to there. And my message is just to start small, like start slow and small, perhaps even a small class, and that will awaken it. And it will be more powerful, and it will also be different than before, because before it feels like it was, you were on a path, but it was very haphazard. There was like all kinds of stuff coming in from all over the place, and you were like, okay, wait a minute, I have to get, like, I feel like a frustration. I feel like, listen, you can't all talk at once.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. And I feel like there's just a really small class, like maybe an online class or something. Have you seen an online class or come across one?
Oh yeah, actually the other day. Well, actually, it was your show last week with Erica.
Oh, okay.
And I ordered her book and signed up for her free online class because the energy was so strong last week. It was like, I need to explore this.
Yeah, she's amazing. I got chills up my body, which is confirmation right there. You've got confirmation. That's a really good move for you. It's a good place to start. Take that course, finish that course, and your guides are saying to start small, because when the doors open, you want to be prepared this time.
Oh, that's so true.
Was that helpful for you?
Yeah, actually, very much so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Yay! Did you did you have any other questions for me? I mean, you are the only caller on the line right now, so you are welcome to co-host with me for the next 20 minutes if you'd like.
Oh my goodness. That makes me feel so special.
You are special, and I know that you have done a lot for the community and helping teach people how to set sacred space. Do you have any suggestions for the viewers or listeners?
Well, actually, when people are setting sacred space or trying anything, a lot of times their own self-consciousness gets in the way.
Yeah.
So I usually tell them to fake it till you make it. Go through the steps. You may not feel it right away, but after a while, you will notice the difference. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Someone who's a beginner, there are some things that they don't understand. They don't think they feel it. I know the first time I was turned on, and I've been this way my whole life, but I didn't realize a lot of things. And so I had a situation happen that once it was resolved, it was like, oh my God, it's like so many channels, it's opened up, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. And I've been working with it ever since. But, just keep working at it. Just, like I said, take it till you make it.
That's a great advice. I love that advice. So basically, not to worry about whether you're doing it right or doing it wrong, as long as you're setting that intention and you keep working at it, eventually you will feel a difference and a shift.
Yes.
Nice.
The main thing, one thing that you just said that really needs to be pointed out is setting the intention. Because if you are just clearing space, I'm just going to like this, and whatever happens, well, then you're just allowing whatever to come in.
Yeah.
Where if you set the intention, I'm going to clear this negative energy, and bring in positive energy, then it will work.
Yeah.
You know, it's like people on a life path. Well, I'm not sure. I don't know. Well, you know, if you don't choose, someone else will choose for you.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
Because you're not going to just disappear. You're here to learn lessons.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, setting the intention. And and I'm glad that you picked up on that, because that's something I didn't even really mention in the video, is that, you know, I did talk about imagining the white light and putting the spiral around myself, and that's really setting an intention. And so you don't actually have to go out and purchase the gemstones or the sage or the smudge. They're nice and quick and fun, and they smell great, but at the end of the day, it's really all about your intention.
Exactly. What is it you're trying to do? And another thing is, you have, by setting the intention, you know, we all have free will, but you have to ask. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get the energy to come in, or the health that you want, or the things that you're trying to create, unless you ask for them.
Right.
And thus you set the intention.
Sometimes just asking is setting the intention.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, and that's a good point too, because we're asking for something positive. We're asking for what we want to create, because that's when you get that positive vibrational energy, is when you ask what you want to create, and turn your focus away from what you don't want.
Yes. Plus, you know, when you do this, there's absolutely nothing wrong to ask for an affirmation that you're doing it correctly.
Yeah.
I'll usually ask for, you know, some sort of affirmation that, what would be a good example? That I bought the right crystal. Just as an example.
Yep.
And so you bring this crystal home and you set it down and you look at it, and suddenly something out of the blue will happen that just, you turn to the crystal and you go, oh, I did get the right one. And that's your affirmation from the universe that you're in the right direction. Or you're creating what you intend.
Yep. Nice. So you're actually looking for a positive response from that purchase or that question.
Right. Well, some people need that to sort of keep them going too. Otherwise, they think, oh, I was doing it and doing it and doing it and nothing happens. But, you know, it might just be an affirmation that you get a phone call out of the blue from someone, but something will, the little switch will go off in your head saying, that's your affirmation for the test.
I love it. I just had funny. I have my affirmation in my head about my show. So I will wait till after the show, and I will let you all know if I get confirmation.
I'm sure you will.
I'm sure I will. I'm very excited. I can't wait.
But things like that are important, because you are in a human body.
Yeah.
So, you know your subconscious, your unconscious, or your higher self is working and doing this and doing that. The human body sometimes kicks in and tries to fumble.
Yeah. And I think that's where we kind of beat ourselves up. You know, we're humans. What are we? Spiritual beings having a human experience. So like in our mind, or in that mirror, that window that we look out at the world, we're invincible, we're everything. We're everything all at once, and anything possible. But then we get this body that's like, no, you're not. And yeah, so how do we get past that? I like that example that you give, or that sample, that, you know, we look for the positive examples that we've, you know, asked for the right thing, or that we've made the right purchase, or that we're in the right direction.
Well, one thing you can do, and I've talked this many times, is a lot of times well, we have a hard time receiving. Humans just do.
Yeah.
But you also have to look at your whole lifetime. What have you heard? It's like manifesting money. I want an affirmation that I'm going to have enough money for this month. You know you will.
Yep.
But then if you just think about it, what did you hear in your childhood? Like, you know, my parents we always had enough money. We always did things. But I can hear my mother complaining, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. So there was something implanted in me as a child, we're not going to make it. So the human body side of you has to get over that.
Yeah.
And know that you are going to make it. In other words, look back in your past at things that have happened or things that you've heard and see how that is influencing you today.
Yeah. And you could even take that a step further with I know we're going, I think it's all connected anyways, is to take it a step further and change the way you talk to yourself about it by saying something like, I realize and respect that my mother was worried about our finances and being able to make it, but I'm open to the possibility that I could shift that thought process, or I'm open to the possibility that I could have more than enough, or something like that. And that's setting another intention.
Exactly. And one thing you said there, and I think people need to realize how important their inner dialogue is and their outer dialogue. You said I am.
Yes.
So the universe responds to I am.
Yes.
And like if you run around saying, I am fat, I am fat,
yeah.
I am fat. Well, you know, the universe is listening and they're going, oh, she wants to be fat. Boom.
Boom.
So
it's like that commercial. Boom.
They're going to give you what you ask for. Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah.
But if you say, you know, something, my body is at the right weight, you know, I am losing weight, I am, well, I don't know why I brought weight on, because that's something I'm always worried about. But, you know,
that's perfect.
What you protect, you receive.
Yeah. And
so your intention is to, go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to stop your thought process.
I was just going to say, if that's the intention, you have to change your, what's the word I'm on? What you're saying, what you're projecting.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Your inner dialogue, really, your inner dialogue, or what you're asking for, putting it more of a positive spin on it. And that's why I stepped forward and did I am open to the possibility, because I had a client who was working on something, and, you know, just to keep her in anonymity, she was working on something. And she could only focus on the negative aspects of it. I don't have. And so she's reading, you know, one of the many beautiful, wonderful, positive books about manifesting. And they're talking about the I am presence, and I am, or I have, and start telling herself this. And she sits down with me, and you know, it was quite comical, but at the same time, it really hit home for me. And she said, you know, Michelle, and of course the fake it till you make it definitely kicks in after a while of saying I am. It does kick in, trust me. But for those of you that are really having a challenge with getting from I am to it, faking it till you make it and have it kick in, she said, you know, I could say, you know, look, I'm saying it every day. I'm getting up every morning. I have. And she says, and I've been doing it for, I think she was like a month and a half. And she's like, and yeah, she's like, and I still don't have. And I was like, well, but it wasn't because she was doing what she needed to do to put out the positive projection. But at the same time, she was still looking for proof that she still didn't have.
Still living in the negative on the inside.
Exactly. And her challenge was to actually really be able to believe that she could have. So I said to her, what would happen if what would happen if you said, I am open to the possibility? And you could see the light bulb go off. She was like, oh, hey, I could be open to the possibility. And so she said, telling her that every day. And she was able to shift into the I am presence. Like, she was able to shift into the positive of what she was asking for. And it became easy and effortless. So that's another little tip. You can just say, I'm open to the possibility, and then fake it till you make it. If you're open to the possibility of it happening, then how much better can it get, right? Can it get any better than this? So.
Oh, and one thing that we do, I don't remember where I learned this, but when something good happens, just ask the universe, can it get any better than this? Because that leaves you open for them giving you more.
Yeah, I love that.
You find a dime. You find a dime on the ground, you pick it up, and just say, can you get any better than this? Kind of a little challenge for them.
Yeah.
And maybe later on that day, you might find $1.
Yeah.
Again, can it get any better than this? And you might find something else or be given something. But as soon as you say it can't get any better than this, you have ended the energy.
Yeah, just blocked it.
And you've closed yourself to receiving.
I love it. So
I'm just in the habit. Can it get any better than this?
So let's come to me. Let's propose a challenge for anybody viewing or listening between this week, today's show, from this moment forward until next Tuesday. Let's start small, and whenever, look for something good happening in your life. Set your sacred space, clear your mind, clear your thoughts, get yourself in a really good place. And then when something good comes into your life as a result, even if it's just like Darlene suggests, picking up a dime, finding a dime or a penny, ask the universe, can it get any better than this? And look for it growing throughout the week. I would love to get emails or hear how your week went as a result. That sounds fun. I'm going to do that myself.
Oh, I will definitely do that, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, great. Yay. Well, I'll tell you what, Darlene, there's only about... Can it get any better than this? Darlene called up and we had so much fun. So can it get any better than this? We just have about 3 more minutes left of the show. So I just want to kind of sum things up for everybody. This week we got a challenge going on where we're inviting you, Darlene and I are challenging you, and we're going to do the same thing, to look for something wonderful and nice and good that happens to you in your life this week. And when it happens, ask the universe, can it get any better than this? And watch it as it grows and spirals into something great by the end of the week. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have experienced. You can also connect with me on Facebook, which is Michelle Melio, Intuitive Hypnotherapist, on Facebook, or you can go to my website, michellemeleoonline, which will connect you to all of my psychic connections and all of my social networks. And also tune in next week when we will be talking with an amazing, amazing woman who wrote a book about her daughter's suicide. Her young daughter committed suicide, and how she was able to heal from it, and how she was able to communicate with her daughter from beyond the grave. So that's next week at 10 o'clock. Darlene, thank you so much for calling in and helping me co-host.
Oh, anytime. Thank you so much.
Anytime. Awesome. This is awesome. It's a pleasure. I think we should have to do this again.
Oh, definitely. I had a great time.
Yay.
But, I love to talk. So.
Yeah. Well, talking is good, especially since we have a show, so it's good to talk. But perhaps we'll have to do this again. I'd love to hear your feedback. Love to have Darlene on the show again. I'd love to see you next week. I hope that you have a wonderful, adventurous, week that is filled with manifestation. And I look forward to talking with you next Tuesday at 10 a.m. This has been your host, Michelle Melio, and you have been watching and listening to Mind Tripping with Michelle. Until next week, namaste.